Hi, everybody. This is Nathan. I am a co-writer of the Myriasphere Origins, and I'm here to talk about a book called The Novice by Taran Matharu, a New York Times bestseller. Um, we'll start with the series. The series is the Summoner series. It talks about you follow a person by the name of Fletcher through a journey. Um, in the first book, it's a very interesting journey that Fletcher goes on. He's like this hunter. You get to know him as this like hunter, blacksmith, um, apprentice kind of guy who has the world against him. He was put as a little baby on the steps of a city named Pelt, and he was naked and just laid there in the snow, screaming his head off before somebody came out and found him. And they brought him to the elder council of the city. The elder council of the city asked people to take him in, and nobody would accept him. So you get this story of this guy who had nothing and had the world against him. And luckily, this blacksmith person didn't have a kid, didn't have wife, um, didn't really have anything except for his blacksmithing store and a little bit of money, so he could share his food with the baby and kind of teach it things and grow it up. Um, and this blacksmith was the name of Ferdinand. Takes him in under his wing and shares the world with him and kind of tells everybody about he really grows him up. All right. Now you don't get a lot of backstory. That's basically the backstory you get with Fletcher. And at this point, he's 15 years old. He does not know anything about summoning. He doesn't even know that he is a summoner. He doesn't even know that he's adept. He does, which adept in this book means that you have the ability to summon. Um, those who are adept usually, not always, but most of the time, have the, the noble blood, is what they call it. It's the early families of settlements who were adept and then had kids that were also adept. They found out their firstborns were mostly adept, and the rest of them not usually, but sometimes they will have more than one adept child. But the firstborn would be the one who would um, who would gain the power and control of the family's empire. So it's very interesting that you learn about these little details pretty early on, and then um, he meets this soldier. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but he meets this soldier that has a strange book with him. And by the way, if you guys have not read this book and you guys don't want to know anything really about the book, you just want to be like, hey, I'm on YouTube, I'm looking around to find cool books that people are talking about. This is a cool book that I'm going to talk about. So in my rating, I'm going to give my rating right now. Is a 5 out of 5 star. Um, and the reason why I like the readability, the rating I go off of is readability. That's the biggest one. Like if it's hard to read and it's hard to understand and it's hard to get through, I'm not gonna recommend it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, and I'm gonna tell you guys the truth if I feel like it. Readability. The second one um, is is the storyline, right? It's how much in depth does the story get? What is the what kind of story does it have, and how original is it, right? That's the third thing, originality. Originality, I think it's very original. I like the way he does things. I like how the demon creatures don't just roam around the world and they capture them like some kind of I don't know. Trying to think of a word like Pokemon or something. Not like that at all. It's a really cool, interesting way. And it's very original how he does it. It's really interesting. I liked it a lot. Um, those are my three biggest things. Okay. Then after that, it's character building. What kind of character development does the book have? How much in depth does the characters go? Do they give you all the information right up front, or is it something that you learn gradual? Those are the kinds of things I look for. Um, And in this book, man, they give you just enough detail to keep you interested, but not too much detail to where you're like, okay, I know about this character. Let's move on. It does go in depth with the characters it needs to go in depth with, and it doesn't go in depth with the characters it does not need to go too in depth with. I'm hoping that there are other character developments along the way that showcase a little bit more in depth on like some of the teachers that he gets to know, like Captain Lovett. I would love to learn more about her in general. I think that she's a really cool character. Um, Captain or Calderal, I think his name is. He's a swordsman. I'd love to learn like the full backstory of him. That would be kind of cool. Not like I wouldn't want a full book about it, but just some more details into him. Again, this is just going off of the first book. Okay, um, those are the things I judge on mainly when I talk about it. Now, I'm gonna give a sixth item for this book because this is where it went above and beyond for me. I have um, I've read some books. We put some other reviews out there. I've seen reviews from other people on YouTube, but I've never seen somebody so attentive to how people describe their book and what they look for as Taran Matharu has came out to be. This guy, he came on our YouTube. He talked about he liked our review. He talked about the review with us. He even gave us some pointers for the book that we're working on, and I thought that was above and beyond. So thank you so much, Taran, for that. Um, that's one of the things that made me want to read the book after Daniel, my brother, has finished it. The other thing I'm going to give some pointers on that I think would be cool to add into the book. Those are just my opinions. They are not to take away from the book. They are not to hurt the book in any way, because I think the world of this book. Um, but one is like you learn very early on. He after he gets the book from the soldier, um, he drops something out of the back of it, and it's like this. It describes it in such grave detail, like it's literally like the skin of somebody's skin that was cut off of them after the symbols were carved into it. It's like flesh, like a flesh um writing basically. They turn flesh into like their paper. Is the best way to describe it. It's almost like skinning the deer and then making it into like leather and stuff, but in human form. Like they did it to a person or an elf or a dwarf or something. But when you pull it out, he reads it. He just like reads it, and because he reads it, this creature comes out of nowhere, right? And it scares him. It freaks him out a little bit. Like he doesn't actually believe he's adept. He just wanted to try it out. Like he was just testing it. And that was pretty cool. I thought. Anyway, you find out some more information. You find out that like after that, he gets in the struggle with these powerful people, this powerful kid, I should say, around his age, and burns his face. He thinks he's dead, right? So he has to run out of town because it's like the son of like the most powerful lord of the place, one of the big banker owners of Pelt. So he has to run away. So he has to gather up a few things from Burn On. Burn On gives him a couple things, really cool, um, and he has to run. Lots of really good details, lots of really good plot twists and turns that bring you into the book. This is where, like I said, character development was good, and the story kind of went along with it, and it just grew, right? And naturally had this growing feel. I think that's very essential in books like this that really can make you love the story. Um, I'm gonna start jumping. This is where I'm gonna start jumping because I just wanted to give you the background of Fletcher a little bit and how he learns how to summon. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about the summoning itself. So he learns later that you have to summon by having um, something inscribed on like a leather or organic material, like symbols, um, like leather, for example. They have to use leather a lot to put the symbols on, and then inscribe it and use that as a way to cast their demon or infuse their demon, is what they call it, through infusion. Here's where I'm going to talk about a little bit on like what I think would be cool. And like I said, this is the first book I've read. I've read halfway through the second book. I'm not going to get into what I've learned in the second book. I'm not even going to touch on the second book until I'm finished with it. I'll do a review on the second book by itself later. But this is where I'm going to touch into. He learns about a thing called uh what's it called fulfillment. And fulfillment is like how much demon mana your body can take or handle at one time. So it's like your if you can take care of certain situations. Um, how powerful of a demon you can control, basically. Um, and they find out that Fletcher is a level 9. Okay, so there's the highest level recorded at the time that they have in their arsenal and in their world is level 20. Um, the highest ever recorded in their history, I believe, is 100. Um, but Fletcher being a level 9 means that he must have some sort of noble blood in him, probably, because nobles are usually born with higher levels um, of mana, higher levels of fulfillment. Um, so the fulfillment meter is really of an important part of like the limitations put on the summon. Like that way, you can't have one overly ridiculously powered summoner unless they really grow and work hard at becoming strong in this world in this time. Um, so it's a pretty interesting plot twist there. So here's my thought on it, right? So his demon that he he brought to from the ether to his world is a salamander. It's a very very rare demon, especially on their side of the ether. It's not found on their side of the ether mainly. It's on the Oric side of the ether. So it's going to have some, later on that there's going to be some important context, like super important context, but from the salamander. Like maybe it's going to grow up and become really powerful. Um, Now, one thing is that a demon's fulfillment is strict. A demon's fulfillment is strict fulfillment. Like a demon cannot grow their fulfillment, but a summoner can. So after using their abilities for a long time, a summoner can go from a level 9 to a level 15, maybe. Um, but it's going to take a lot of work and effort to get there. Here's what I would this is and here's again, this is where my own personal opinion would be cool is if let's say he owns a level 5 demon, right? Salamander, and then he catches a level 4 demon, right? Let's say, or like something like a shriek. In the back of the book there's a demonology page. It talks about all the different demons and the different levels in the first book. And one is a level 4 thing called the shriek or shrike. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly. But it would be cool if he could infuse Salamander and Shriek, and then also have a level 9 demon out, right, in his possession and in his control, where he has extra mana because he has his own mana plus some of the mana from the different demons that are infused in him. And then it would be also cool that if those infused demons also gave you some of the powers that they had, like for example, the salamander can there's a part in the book where the salamander gets cut and then he sees the salamander heal itself, right? It's got regenerative powers. So it'd be really cool if the salamander's regenerative powers work for him alongside, like, let's say the Shriek's powers. And then on top of that, you have extra mana from them, and you can last longer in battles, and then maybe you can cast out one of your other demons and then infuse, your demon and all that kind of stuff. That'd be interesting. It'd be really cool to see that. I don't know exactly how it would work. Maybe you have to cast out two and then infuse the other one at the same time. I don't know, but it would be a really interesting concept. How to build upon your strength as a summoner, how to maximize your potential as a summoner. And then, but that's just my feeling. That's my personal thoughts. I think that it would be cool. It would be interesting. It would give more power to the summoner. I wouldn't make the summoner more overpowered, but it would bring a different light. Now, I will say Fletcher is one of the in my mind he's a lot like I am. Like when I am challenged with something, I try to find every way I can to overcome that challenge. It's not it's if I have to invent something or just recreate it in a way just to overcome that challenge, I'll do that. Okay, like I will put my whole brain, thoughts, and mind, and I will work my butt off to get that thing changed. And this is how Fletcher is, right? He sees an eye patch, okay, and he there's this crystal kind called the scrying crystal, right? It allows you to control your demon to where you are actually seeing through the demon's eyes, using his movements, and controlling the demon the way you want to control it. Well, he got this scrying stone that's so small that he could barely see through and barely utilize, right? Well, he takes it and then he has it fine down, puts it into an eye patch, and puts it over his eye so he doesn't have to hold it while he's fighting. I think that's incredible. Okay, that's on next level inventions to overcome things to make your life a lot easier. Genius. All right, that's something I would do if I was a guy like Fletcher, right? I would sit there and look at that and be like, how do I make this better? There's got to be a way. Um, then the other thing he does is he sees this in his dream. He sees the salamander seeing these different things the salamander has been through in its past, right? One of which was a time where this like orc, all these it was being gifted to the albino orc 2,000 years ago, and the albino orc was also being tattooed on its hand these different symbols, and Fletcher decides to just utilize that same type of way to make the symbol on his skin rather than having to write the symbol in the air and then push the mana through it. So instead of taking the energy and extra mana to spend on to create the symbol, he has them tattooed on his hand so you can just boom, it's right there at his fingertip. Genius. Absolutely genius. Love the idea. It was great. It's fantastic. Um, Nothing more I would change on that honestly. Like maybe utilizing both hands would be kind of cool. Have like 10 different fingers you can master the different like a lot of the different symbols. It'd be interesting that way. Um, Honestly, there's no other way to do it. I mean, unless here's an idea for for Taran Matharu, right? And this is the only other thing I thought of was what if he had leather gloves, right? Super leather gloves that were almost like that of a skin, but like and each leather glove was different, had different symbols on it. That way, he can maximize more symbols. So instead of just permanent tattoo on you, you would have different gloves that you put on and use in your fights, right? Um, that'd be the only other thing I can think of that could make it a little more um, in depth, I guess, on how to master different elements of being a summoner and make your life easier. So those are my only two suggestions for Taran Matharu. If he ever gets into this book again, decides to make a new storyline or a updated storyline for a newer character in a newer era, to think about. But like I said, I haven't read a whole lot, so I don't know all three books. But I will recommend one thing: you are going to get into this book. Make sure you purchase the second book and probably the third book because it does leave you with a ridiculous thing like cliffhanger at the end. Like the cliffhanger at the end is like, all right, screw this book. I'm picking up the other. I'm gonna go get the other book. I gotta read it. Like it just you just have to, right? There is no. It's almost like having a Netflix show versus having a show in the old days. You know, like you get up on Saturday morning cartoons and you're like, my cartoon's on, and then you like watch it, and it's like Naruto or something, right? And you're sitting there watching it, and you're like, "Wow, man, this is one of those filler episodes. Darn it!" Right? Or at the end of like Zabuza, right? Zabuza captures the guy in the water and has him in a water cell, and you're like, "Oh man, now I got to see the show again," right? It's like that. It's like a really intense cliffhanger that you're like, "Man, I gotta read it. I just have to go pick up that other one." So I recommend purchasing all three at once. Give it a try. You hate it? Fine. Send it back. I promise you, you won't. I promise you, you will not hate this book. I know stories. I've watched pretty much every Netflix show there is. I could do a review on pretty much any and all Netflix shows. Um, Not because I have a whole lot of time on my hands. I have a baby. I work full time. I actually have a side job that I do, and I help Daniel write his book. Okay, so I have a lot on my plate. And then on top of that, I also give advice to people, and I have work other things that I do, um, and things like that. So I mean, I'm always doing something. Okay, and like this, I'm just doing a video now, or voice recording of this book. Anyway, those are my suggestions. Those are my feelings. Those are my hopes and my dreams. I will say I think that going forward, I believe that Fletcher is going to be like of noble blood. I think he's going to be very. He's going to be either related to the king somehow, right? The king that exists, or he's going to be related to the first king, the most one of the most powerful summoners that ever existed. Because he acts a lot like that. Like the first king came in, he was willing to work with the elves and dwarves and willing to create this world together, right? This world to fight alongside of them. And then somehow the second king comes along, King Alfric, and the second king destroys all of that. Basically, he wants the power. He wants to control all of the world. He wants orcs to be put in their place. He wants the elves to be put in their place. And you learn about these, right? Um, Now the third king, he seems a lot more like that he cares about it. But the problem that I see, especially in the first book, you don't get to know the king very much, and it almost feels like the king has given power over, like, given too much control over to people. And in a monarch society, the king usually has the ultimate power. But in this book, or in this society, it's almost like the king doesn't really have any power, or at least he, as the king, doesn't have any power. Um, it's almost like this feel that the Pinkertons and the magistrates and the inquisitors have all the power, right? They're like they have no oversight at all, where the king can't even do anything against them. It's almost like there's got to be something else. There's got to be someone else pulling the strings, whether it's King Alfric, who still lives, by the way. Maybe he's pulling the strings. I don't know. Um, but anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I think that's you're gonna find out more information about that, and so it leaves you with a lot of questions, right? It does. The book leaves you with a lot of questions, a lot of a lot of things. Like at the end of the book, you find out like he had just I'm not gonna tell you this, but he had just won something big. Um, toward the end of the book, he won something big. You feel like, oh man, he's actually gonna like his life is starting to get better, right? And then boom, this thing happens, and um, you really got to read the story because I don't want to spoil everything for you. Um, but it's a very good book, um, and I like the heck out of it. Like I said, 5 stars out of 5 stars. Actually, 6 stars because of Taran Matharu and his personality and his personable character that he brought into our channel. So at that point, I give it a 6 out of 5 stars for that. But I mean, this book is just so freaking good. Like, just go get it. Just go buy it. Just buy it. Okay. I will put the link in here. Um, we will put the link underneath in our comment section. Buy the book. Make sure to reach out to Taran Matharu. Make sure to say the Myriasphere Origins sent you to purchase this book because man, this book is good. Okay, it's just good. So go buy the book and have a good night, guys. I'm done talking about it for now, but look forward to my second book review. I will be posting that soon as I am halfway through it. I didn't give you guys any detail on the second book. I only gave you what my thoughts and feelings were in the first. Um, and so just buy the book, guys. That's all I gotta say. Um, and that's it, guys. Have a wonderful evening. This is Nathan, the co founder of Myriasphere Origins.